Hello, everybody. All right. Hello, everybody. Glad to have you guys join us. I hope we didn't keep you waiting long. I hope you guys are in the right location. This is Managing Your Business with Computer-Based Accounting. And I think, we may have a few more people joining, but this is more introductory information up front. So I'm just going to roll through this. And then as people join in, they can, we'll get them caught up. Okay. So let's see, let me make sure that got my controls going. And let's see. Okay, here we go. So first thing I want to do is I want to thank our sponsor, the Institute of American Indian Arts Continuing Education Program. And they have been a great partner to us at IDRS. And so this, of course, is a presentation of theirs. And of course, you guys all registered through the CE courses link. And so you guys probably know that, but we wanted to make sure that we thank them and acknowledge their contribution to the webinar today. If you want to reach out and have any questions about the IAIA Continuing Education Program, our contact over there is Jonathan Breaker. He's the Continuing Education Manager. His information is up there on the screen. If for some reason you're not able to get that down and you wanted that, we'll be sending out this presentation later, and it'll have that information on there, or reach out and we'll be more than happy to get that information to you. Who are we? We are the Indian Dispute Resolution Services. That is our official name. We've been around since 1989. And about 8 years ago, we started a project called the IDRS Acorn Project. And so our logo is over here on the left-hand side, and the IDRS Acorn Project logo is over here on the right-hand side. And the IDRS Acorn Project is a project or a program to provide training and technical assistance to Native entrepreneurs and Native artists. And that's what we've been doing for the past 8 years. We work in a number of different areas. We do California, Nevada, Oklahoma, and we work on different areas or different tribal areas, such as the Navajo Nation in Arizona, the Klamath tribes in Oregon. We work with the Nez Perce tribe up in Idaho, and of course the Institute of American Indian Arts there in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We do online training, we do on-reservation training, and we do technical assistance, and we offer technical assistance free of charge. And if after this presentation you would like to get technical assistance, please either reach out to us at IDRS or to IAIA, and we can provide training or we can provide technical assistance to you. There's some money that has been set aside in the budget to be able to do that. Okay. So who am I? I'm Mark Thompson. I'm the executive director at IDRS. I've been here just shy of 18 years. And that's my contact information, our phone number at IDRS, and my email, which is mark@idrsinc.org. I don't have a slide for her, but she is on the line, and that's Lynn. Lynn is our micro enterprise development specialist. I'll just let her say hi real quick. Lynn, if you'd like to.
Yeah, let me get unmuted. So hello, everyone. Glad to be here. Just here in the background. I think I sent everyone a text message. So if you have any problems during the webinar, you can either chat with me or send me a text message, and I'll be back here trying to help any way I can.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Lynn. So Lynn's our micro enterprise development specialist, like I said, and she would be your first point of contact if you guys need that technical assistance. And so she's doing all our tech stuff today. So really appreciate her being here. Just a little housekeeping. So this workshop is going to run until 8 p.m. Mountain Time. It's going to run 2 hours. Well, we may take a break at 7 p.m. Depending on how you guys feel. If you guys need a break, if I've run on too long, we'll do that. This is, I said that this is in the meeting format, but this is actually not in the meeting format. This is actually in the webinar format. So you cannot come off mute. You have to actually raise your hand. And then if you wanted to ask a question, raise your hand, and then Lynn can actually unmute you. So that's a little bit of a different platform that we have here with Zoom webinars versus Zoom meetings. So I apologize about that. I didn't put the right thing down here on this, but we're more than happy to have you guys discuss and talk in the meeting and ask your questions as well. There is also the ability, like Lynn just mentioned, if you have any questions, you can ask it in the chat box, and we'll be monitoring that, and we'll answer as we see them come in. I also had, it says link is in the chat box. That's because we're working on some supplemental materials for you. We have links to the different programs that we're going to talk about today. There's some links to a sample file that we're going to talk about in QuickBooks Online. I've also recorded some other videos that shows me introducing the different software packages. And so we have links to that. So that's some of the stuff. And what we were going to do is we were going to put that in a Google Drive folder and share it all to you. We haven't got it all done because we were working right up to the last minute, getting some of those things produced for you. So we'll be sharing some of the stuff in the chat box, and then we're going to be emailing you, such as the presentation afterwards, and that'll have more information for you as well. And of course, if there's anything you don't get, I always say, be sure to reach out, because we'd be more than happy to help you. Let's see here. So before I go into record keeping, let me just quickly talk about what we're going to be doing today. So this is a webinar all about managing your business with computer-based accounting, right? That's the title, but that's really what we're looking at. We're going to be doing a lot of focusing on QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is the dominant software package. First, their desktop, and now their online program. But they're not the only player out there. So I didn't want to exclusively focus on QuickBooks, but we'll be bringing up QuickBooks and showing you how certain transactions are entered. We're going to start talking about record keeping. And the reason why we talk about record keeping is we got to think about, why are we even doing all this? Why would we even want to use a computer-based accounting system? Do we need to use a computer-based accounting system, right? Because if I just was here and said, hey, let's go and let's all go get QuickBooks, and it's overkill for you, first, that's going to be a waste of your money. And second of all, you may be like, gosh, I wish I would have known this. I wouldn't even have gone and done all this stuff. So that's one of the things. Is what we want to do first is we want to go over like why you would be doing this, what records you would need. So if you've only come here for getting in and looking at QuickBooks, I apologize. If you just give me a little grace here as we move through this. I'll try to move through this quickly, but I think this is an important part in talking about why we keep these records, and how are some different ways we can keep those, and why computer-based accounting may be the best way to keep it for your business. Then after that, we're going to look at some different packages, look at both QuickBooks desktop and online, compare and contrast the two, and why one might choose one versus the other. We're going to look at a couple of other online packages as well. And then we're going to get in and open up the different programs, take a look and see what some of the different controls are. I have some different exercises that we used in a offline QuickBooks class. And so I'm going to enter a couple transactions so you can see how they look in the different programs. And then if there's any questions that you guys have, we'll see if we could solve it and see if we could see how a transaction might look like. Probably be using QuickBooks, the desktop version for that. However, if we need to go into a different program, we could do that as well. But I think if we can see how it's done in one of the programs, it's easy enough to transfer that information and do it in another program if it's possible to be done in that program. So with all that, and then the final thing I should say is we're just going to talk about help, reiterating a little bit about what we do here at IDRS, but also talking about other places that you can get help for these programs, and thinking about that type of assistance. Because especially if you're not an accountant or a bookkeeper, and you're just doing this on your own, you're probably going to want help not only in just how to operate the software package, but also maybe even where I should be putting things when I'm doing accounting. So that's the agenda for today. So let's start with record keeping. Actually, before I start with record keeping, let's actually in the chat box, if you guys could tell me what type of business that you guys operate. And I was going to say what industry, but if you do know your industry, that's fine. But like, are you doing retail? Like, if you're a native artist, are you selling your own pieces? Are you going to like powwows and craft fairs and selling there, and you're doing retail? Just it doesn't have to be a long description. Just some thoughts of how you might use some sort of accounting function in your business. So I'd be very interested to hear that. So give you a few seconds to do that before we move on. And actually, I'm even going to put what I do in here as well. And you can have something like this. Lynn beat me to the punch, but she direct messaged me, so I got it out to the people first. So, okay, artist, retail and wholesale. Okay, great, Elizabeth. Arts and crafts powwow vendor, just getting started. Great. And I'll also say that I have worked and done bookkeeping for retail establishments, other places that have done wholesale, and use QuickBooks in all of them as well. A board member for a native nonprofit. Okay, great. Okay, so we got, so one of the things, the reason that it's important to know what you're doing is how big to go, because with these different programs, you can go and do a lot of stuff. Now, there are, even though QuickBooks is used in a lot of businesses and some very large businesses, there are programs that as you get into being a corporation that are very designed, they're just very large accounting programs and can be really handle a lot more transactions than QuickBooks can. But even having said that, QuickBooks being kind of a modest program, it still packs a lot of power into it, and there's a lot of features, and even a lot of features that I don't use, and I use QuickBooks basically every single day. So what we want to do is we want to focus on what are the type of features that you need, and are there features that you could use in maybe a less expensive program or a different type of program that may work with your type of business. So that's why we wanted to kind of find out where you are. So with that, as I go on, be thinking about how you conduct transactions, how you sell things, how you buy things. Do you have a lot of transactions? Do you have, do you have a lot of credit cards that you have to reconcile, a lot of bank accounts? Just be thinking about that, because I think the more complex, the more of an argument in getting into something like QuickBooks, the less sophisticated, I shouldn't say sophisticated, the less complex your accounting may be. You may have the option to go to a free version of one of the programs that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But before we get into that, let's quickly discuss record keeping. Okay, so what is record keeping? All it is basically the keeping of records, right? And we're just trying to create some order with those, mainly because, as you'll see in a minute, we want to generate certain things from our reports that we're going to use in operating our business. So that's the reason why we're doing it. So it's not just the keeping of records to keep records. It's basically because we want to use these records, right? And so these records are going to be used to report and operate and make decisions in our business. So why is it important? Well, first is we have to pay taxes. And that's generally the number one reason why we're keeping records, right? Because we're going to have to pay taxes on income. If we're selling things, we may have to pay taxes on sales tax in some jurisdictions. And so keeping good records so that we can report and have accurate backup in case we're ever audited, that's one of the best reasons why you would develop some sort of an accounting system. There could be even other reasons why you might have to do it. I remember one time working with a pest contractor, and when he was spraying different chemicals to kill pests, he had to report on the different chemicals that he sprayed, the amount that he used, right? So there was out here in California, there was a state agency and they want to monitor what type of chemicals are being sprayed. And so he would have to give a monthly report. So he had to develop a system to be able to log all of those and keep track of those. And we had some long discussions about doing them in QuickBooks. Also, as far as financial records, there may be other bodies that or organizations that are interested in the information that would be in your records. Could be lenders, right? So lenders may want to see your profit and loss statement for previous periods. They may want to see projections that you can also use your accounting package to be able to help you develop. Insurance, may also be looking at these things. We're just coming out of the COVID pandemic. We had a grant out here called the California Small Business Relief Grant. There was another program with LISC. I know that NCAI, National Congress of American Indians, had a grant program. And with a lot of these programs, they wanted you to report some financial data. The NCAI grant wanted you to create an operational budget. So you can see having that kind of data in an organized method so that you can pull that out and then create the things that you need for these grant applications was important. Don't know that that will come around again, all those grants, but it is a good practice for people that had that data. It made the application process go a whole lot smoother. You also might be using these records and actually how to operate your business, right? So you may want to see what's selling. Now, in a small business, if you're selling a few pieces, you're going to know. You don't need a computer-based accounting. You don't really need maybe even any accounting system to know the type of products that you're selling on a regular basis. You're going to know what are the things that people like. However, when you get to be a larger business or you're selling a large amount of products, maybe you're a retail establishment, you may want to see what are those hot products. You may know it in the back of your head, but having some reports that will actually show you maybe even the profit margins. So you may see a product that you're selling a lot of, but then when you go back and look, you may say, well, I'm selling less of this product, but this one has a larger profit margin per item or maybe overall. And so you're actually making more money on selling a product that doesn't sell as much. And having that information is something that is really nice. And that's some of the things that a computer-based accounting system can produce for you. All kinds of different things that you mentioned and, when we were talking about the pest control, right? You can keep all of that data in a computerized based accounting system, but you can keep it in other types of records as well. There's also other records that you generally want to keep for your business, who your customers are, who your vendors are, if you have inventory, like if you're a manufacturer or you're a retail establishment, if you have employees, right? Those are other reports that you're going to have to give to the government, plus your employees want to get paid. So there's a number of different things, and even household management and planning. Some people use QuickBooks for their family or some of these other accounting programs. So it's definitely something, if you learn the skills to use it, you can use it in other areas as well. So which records are we going to be keeping? We're going to be looking at things like receipts, invoices, credit card statements, banks. If you're paying, vendors, contractors, you're going to want to, not only keep the record that you paid that contractor, but you're going to want to have a W-9 if you've paid them over $600 in a year. Any cash transactions, you might have to have a separate record for cash transactions. And then what are we trying to find out from these records? We're trying to see, so for income. So how much money have you received? Both in sales. And then we have another thing called COGS, or cost of goods sold, which is how much it costs to generate those sales. And then we subtract that from income, and then that is our gross profit. You're also going to want to find out what are your expenses. And then when you subtract your income from expenses, you get what is your profit, right? And this is what you made for the year. And this helps to show, is your business profitable? And because you may have a lot of different line items in both your income and expenses, it can show if you have, is there an expense that is out of whack, right? Or higher than you expect it to be. And because you can see it because you're seeing kind of an overview of all your different expenses. Now you can say, how in the future can I reduce that expenditure? Or if your income looks a lot lower than you thought it would be, then you can change and say, okay, I need to do something here. I'll tell you just from a personal experience. My wife runs a small horse boarding facility, and we just ran her profit and loss, and we did some calculations, and she was, kind of disappointed in the end. And she's like, I wish I thought I would be making more profit than that, right? And so now, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that she isn't making as much money as she would like. But what it does is it allows her to now make business decisions that will increase her profitability in the future. And that's what having any type of accounting system will do for you. Anyone that you develop will get you more information. It's just when you have a lot of transactions, and a lot can differ to different people, but when you start getting 100 transactions, that's hard to do on paper. Writing down all that information, adding and subtracting, that's when having a computer-based system starts to really help out. You may start with a spreadsheet, and we'll have that on another slide, but you might want to move to an actual accounting software because it's really built to handle these type of financial transactions. Other questions, where's my money going? Do I have money right now, right? If you have certain bills that you need to pay, will I have money tomorrow? And if I don't have money tomorrow, do I have bills that are out there or obligations, maybe loan payments or something? Will I have to borrow this money? What is my income tax liability, right? So if I see that I'm going to have a big profit coming up at the end of the year, but I don't have any money saved, right? But the IRS is still going to expect their money, right? Maybe I can do things now, right? So that's all things that we're the questions that we have within our business. That's what we're hoping that our accounting system will be able to answer for us. And then from there, and how we answer those questions is we prepare reports from the data that we've included into our system. So that's going to be things like the profit and loss statement. You'll hear me talk about these different things because I'm going to show you in the different accounting software packages what these different tools are and where the different reports in each of the different tools is. So profit and loss is going to be big. Profit and loss and balance sheet is something that I use almost, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but very frequently, on definitely on a weekly basis, right? Pulling what is the profit and loss for a time period. That may be the previous month, maybe the previous quarter, maybe the previous year. But that's going to be a report that you rely on quite frequently to know if I'm making a profit or not. Also the balance sheet, right? The balance sheet is basically your assets, and that equals your liability plus owner's equity. All right. And so basically what that's showing is, okay, I have all these assets, but then I have all these liabilities, right? Are they the same, right? Or do I have a lot more assets? And it allows you to do some planning to show that, if you have a lot of liabilities, you may really be jeopardizing your business, right? And so these are just different planning tools, but the profit and loss and balance sheet are used on a regular basis. Statement of cash flows is kind of that third big report. A lot of people don't use it because it is a lot more complicated. It's looking at cash coming into your business because cash is king. And if you run out of cash in your business, then you go out of business. Now there's ways to get additional cash into your business, right? So one of the reasons why the statement of cash flows is important is if you're doing cash flow projection, and you can see that, oh, I'm going to run out of cash 3 months from now. Now you can start doing things like, well, can I take out a loan, right? And even though you're going to run out of technically cash, right? But when you take that loan out, that will inject cash back into the business, right? You may need to call on suppliers and say, hey, you need to pay me. Actually, I shouldn't say suppliers, customers that may owe you money, and say, hey, I need you to pay me sooner because I'm going to run out of money. Or with suppliers, you may say, hey, can I get what they call terms? Instead of paying you cash when you deliver, can I pay 30 days or 60 days from now? And then that gives you a chance to sell that product and then be able to then pay those bills as opposed to just getting rid of the cash immediately. So you could see as we're generating these reports, it allows you to help you plan your business. And then one of the things that's important, especially if you're a sole proprietor, this will be a different tax form if you are an LLC or an S corp. But for a small business, sole proprietor, the form that you're going to use is the Schedule C, and that attaches directly to the 1040. And you'll hear me talk about the Schedule C a little bit later when we talk about our chart of accounts. So just real quick, this is about the end of the record keeping section, but I wanted to talk about different ways that we can do keeping different records within your business. And I just want to briefly go over this. I have a whole a workshop that we do, and we talk about different ways of keeping records and ways that you can do starting very small. But since this is focused on computer-based accounting, we want to get all the way to that. But just real quickly, shoebox, just keeping all your receipts in a shoebox, especially if you don't have a tremendous amount of transactions, that could work for a very small business. Problem is you got to eventually pull out those all those receipts, typically at tax time, and add them all up, and probably do a lot of work by hand. So as you grow, you're going to want to start gradually moving to some of the higher level forms of accounting. It may be a notebook, very similar to a shoebox, and maybe you're even doing some things in combination. Maybe you keep a little record in the notebook, and you add up the shoebox. Instead of doing it annually, you do you keep stuff in the shoebox, and then every month you bring it out and record stuff in a notebook. But just another way to be a little bit more detailed in your recording. Maybe you have things such as a checkbook, a dedicated credit card, a dedicated bank account, and you use the statements from those as a way to do the accounting. And then you could say, okay, well, everything in this account is my business expenses, and then that allows you to easily create a profit loss statement, or even do your taxes at the end of the year. Before all this computer-based accounting was around, we used to have accounting forms that we would do. And when I was in college, that's what we learned on. We put out these different, what they call ledgers, and we would write, and we would have to copy. And then you have to make sure that you're doing your math accurately. And luckily we have calculators now, because before, you had calculators, people were doing all those addition and subtraction manually. And then, of course, if you make an error, now you got to spend all this time going back to find out where that error was made. So, of course, with a computerized system, you can if you make a change, it changes everything, all the linked different files immediately. So that's the real beauty, is the speed that computer-based accounting is bringing you. But there are still some people that are still doing it the old school way. And then we get into working on the computer, right? And we start with a spreadsheet, and then from the spreadsheet, we graduate to accounting software. And so a spreadsheet can do a lot of math for you. The problem with the spreadsheet is that the accounting software is set up to where it can generate an invoice for you. Whereas a spreadsheet, you have to generate the invoice in another program, and then you have to come in and you have to enter that in the right area, and it can be very cumbersome. So that's why, if it's very simple, you can start on a spreadsheet, but very quickly a lot of people will graduate and go to accounting software. And just the different accounting softwares, there's tons of different ones. We're going to talk about them in this class. There's, besides QuickBooks, there's also FreshBooks and Xero. Other records that we've talked about. There's also a customer relationship management program. Salesforce is one of the larger ones, especially for large companies. Zoho is a competitor to that. And we're actually going to be looking at Zoho Books, which is Zoho's accounting software. But even a lot of the accounting programs offer you some customer relationship management within them. And some are very minimal. And some, like QuickBooks, has a very robust customer relationship management feature inside if you want to use that. Some people don't want their software to be all in one. They want to have a program where they're dealing with customers in one program, and then when it's time to do accounting, they do that. And maybe they have them linked through an integration, but it all depends on what the customer likes, right? And that's why it's important to determine in your business what that you think is appropriate for you. So one of the pros, right? It's powerful, flexible, built for the task. You can generate a lot more information. It can handle a lot more information. I should say no math errors, but if you put in the information correctly, right, the computer is pretty good at coming up with the right numbers. And of course, if you have a lot of transactions, it's much quicker. Of course, the con side of that is with these accounting software, they tend to be more expensive, and especially with QuickBooks, they continue to go up in price. And we'll talk about some of the price increases with QuickBooks. A computer is also required. Now, you can do some of the stuff on a smartphone. I will say though, and I don't know about you, but for me, doing some things on the smartphone, if you're looking at Facebook or, playing a game or something, that's fine. But doing a lot of work on the smartphone, small screen, small keyboard, being able to, if you make a mistake, go back to where you need to change, it's very, very cumbersome to do. So if possible, I would say, unless unless you really want to kind of hate yourself after a while, having a computer is really how you're going to want to be keeping your records if you're using computer-based accounting software. And then there's a learning curve, right? This is with anything, but with accounting software, it may be even more, because not only are you having to learn that specific software, but if you've never done any bookkeeping, there's a little bit of a curve that you're going to want, in getting some of those principles down, like where certain things go, or, but there's always people to help you, and we'll talk about that at the end. Okay, so that's the record keeping section. And now on to looking at exploring accounting software options. If there's anybody that has any questions, please post them in the box, in the chat box. And actually, you know what? I think I would like to ask a question now. Is there anybody that has experience with any computer-based accounting program? So that could be QuickBooks, could be, and you can say if it's QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. Some of the other online programs like Xero or FreshBooks. There's the old programs that have kind of changed their name, but there used to be a desktop program called Peachtree that's now called Sage 50. So if you have any experience with any of those programs, please post it in the chat box. I'd love to hear kind of what your experience is. Okay, we have Raven doesn't have any experience. I know Lynn, she may not be posting in the chat box, but I know Lynn, she is the treasurer of an organization. And so even though she's not an accountant, she's having to use QuickBooks too, because that's where the records are for that organization. And she has to produce reports as the treasurer. And so she's having to use QuickBooks, but she's kind of new to doing that. Okay, any others? And I'll say that for myself, I've done a little bit of training with QuickBooks. I've actually trained QuickBooks. We've done some in-person QuickBooks Online classes. I've been into some of the other programs in my bookkeeping experience. Like, I've been here for quite some time. I've been here, like I said, for almost 18 years. But previous to this, I was a full-time bookkeeper. And so in some places I have used some industrial programs, like one is something called MAS 90. And those are for large manufacturing or industrial organizations. So I have used some of those programs, but really for the past 17 and a half years, I've really focused on QuickBooks and QuickBooks Desktop specifically. And even though they come out with QuickBooks Online, and I've used it, and like I said, I've taught classes on it, I've really focused in with both my clients with IDRS using QuickBooks Desktop all the time. Okay. Alrighty, so it looks like we don't have a whole lot of experience. So so what I'm going to do, instead of going into any one program super deep and really going over your heads, what I want to do is really just kind of talk about some overview and why I like different programs and kind of show you some different functions. So let's move into here. So I hope you like my animations. I was having fun. I apologize about that. So what do we want out of software? We've talked about getting these records out of the different or getting this information and these reports out of the different financial records that we're gathering. But now we've put maybe all those records into an accounting software, and what do we want to get out of it? Well, first, what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves some questions about the type of business that we have. So what products are we selling? Services versus retail products. How many are we selling? What's the size of our business? Are we a manufacturer? All those things are going to determine what software package that we choose. The reason I say that is, just in the QuickBooks realm, in the desktop, they have Desktop Pro and they have Desktop Premier. And for Desktop Pro, for almost everybody, that's good enough. But I've worked with several companies that we've had to have Premier. And one of the reasons why we have Premier is because they have something called manufacturing builds. So they were manufacturing certain products. And so you can't do that in the Pro. So you can see that's why you might move up to a different software package. There was another person that used QuickBooks Premier. And the reason was because QuickBooks Premier has a feature where for every customer, you can assign a different price level. And so for most of their customers, everybody was on the same price level, but they had certain customers where they gave a discount, and they had another a group of customers that were in a buying club, and they gave them whatever they purchased it for, they added 5%. So they didn't have their normal markup. So instead of doing all that manually, it was very nice in QuickBooks being able to assign each one of those customers price of the item plus 5%, right? And that's one of the things that we could only do in Premiere and we couldn't do in Pro. So things like that. And initially, it may be hard for you. You may not know that you need all of that. And so you may have to start in one program and then upgrade. And so that's also something to think about if you are a growing business, or there's the possibility that you might need additional functions. You may want to start with a program that has additional functions available at higher levels, even if you're not going to purchase those to be starting out. Like one of the programs we're looking at is Wave, and Wave is a free accounting software, but they don't have different levels. So what you see is what you get. So if you can use Wave and it works for your business, it's great because it's totally free of charge. You don't have to pay anything for it. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say it's fairly robust, but it's doable. It's doable for especially a small solo entrepreneur. They can use Wave and be able to use it. But if you have to graduate from Wave and you've put a lot of information in there, and now you need your accounting software to do something that Wave can't do, you have to move to a different software package, and then you have to transfer all of that data and get it in there to have your new records reflect accurately. So these are all things we want to be thinking about before we go and choose our software. How technologically savvy are you, right? You don't want to be doing any crazy things to get something cheap if it's going to be something where it's hard to use, or you have to maintain it, but you're not really capable of maintaining it. That's the main thing we want to do. If we're getting an accounting package, we want to make sure that we're able to use it, and that we have people that can or that you're going to be able to put transactions in there and get that information out. If it's so complicated that you can't get anything out of it, it's no use buying it, right? It's wasted money, and it's just going to sit there and collect dust. So we want to make sure that whatever that you start using, you're able to get some put information into it and get good information out of it. How much are you willing to spend? That's also a key thing, right? Because some of these packages can be quite pricey. And do you have experience with a software package? That's one of the reasons why I asked that, is because if you already have, for example, probably a lot of folks aren't going to have experience with Xero. It's not a new software package, but it's started in 2006 and was started in New Zealand and has come to the US and has really gotten fairly sizable. In the past couple of years, they have about 2 million users. but a lot of people don't have experience with it, right? And so, but if you did have experience with Zero, let's say you worked at a former company and you did some accounting functions and you kind of knew your way around Zero, even though maybe something is a little bit cheaper or maybe something's a little bit more custom tailored to your business, you may want to go just with Zero just because you have that experience already. So, that's why we wanted to kind of find out that information. And then, besides asking those questions about the business, those questions lead to what are the different features that I need in my business. And so you have things like invoicing, bills, banking, reporting, or invoicing is just basically how you get money into your business. Bills is how money leaves your business, right? How you're paying for things. Banking, right? Everybody has bank accounts, credit cards, things like that that you want to keep track of within your business. And then you want reporting. Those I would think are the big four, right? And so those are going to be in every accounting package. They're going to be more detailed in some packages than others. There are going to be more features in each of those. Some are going to be more robust, but those are going to be in every single one because you can't really have an accounting program without those four in it. But then you want to think about, well, what else do I need? And this is where those options add up. And some of these will be built into even free programs. But then some of these things you may have to step up to a very expensive program to be able to have. So payroll. So with payroll, almost every program is going to offer payroll, but it's almost always an additional fee. If you're willing to learn a little bit about accounting, there is ways to pay your employees and run them through your accounting software as a vendor. You don't have to set up the payroll function and pay that extra stuff. Some people may like to have, if you have an employee, to use the payroll functions because sometimes with the payroll functions, they'll actually submit all of your regulatory filings. So like here in so you have to submit. Now I'm gonna forget what they are. I think it's I'm forgetting what it is. The numbers have just, but there's different payroll reports that you have to submit every single quarter, and so it's nice to have somebody else that does that. And that's some of the things that you're paying for with payroll. Processing credit cards, right? Now you may have that with Square or some other processor. PayPal is also a big processor of credit cards. One of the things is you can integrate that and get that data from Square into something like a QuickBooks or some of these other programs. But there are some of these other programs that have it all integrated. And that's one of the things that, another one of the features, right? Having it to where your accounting software is all in one. If you need inventory, that's typically something where you have to step up or the program can't even do inventory. If you want to connect bank accounts, purchase orders, time tracking, mileage tracking, we've talked about customer relationship management, multiple users, right? If it's, I think for most people that I'm speaking with on this webinar and most of the clients that IDRS has, we don't have, if we have employees, we have maybe a couple. We don't have a whole accounting team, right? It's generally the owner is doing the accounting, or they have it going out. Maybe they have a CPA or a bookkeeper that's remote to them, not an employee that is helping them out. So oftentimes some of the larger features of having lots of different users and things doesn't really come into play because we're working with very small businesses. But this also, if you ever need help, so one of the real benefits of an online program is if you need to give somebody access to your company file and have them take a look at it. And that actually, somebody actually had me, there was an organization we work with on the Navajo Nation, and they were having a little bit of trouble with their accounting. And they said, Mark, would you take a look at our company file? And if you had a desktop-based accounting software like QuickBooks Desktop, they would have to actually, email me their company file. I would have to look at it, and I can tell them the changes. Or if I make the changes, I have to send that file back, and then they have to upload. So it's quite a process. What they were able to do as just give me the login information. I went in and looked at it, and I made some critiques and said, yeah, I see what you're doing here. You might want to do this. And then that was very easy. And then that's something that you could also do and have an accountant do. So that's something to think about. Are you going to need help? How often are you going to need help, right? If it's once a year, like for IDRS's accounting software, we have an auditor, and I give my auditor my accounting file. But besides my auditor, I'm able to do everything. I don't need to ask anybody. I haven't had to ever give anybody access. So it's really going to differ depending on your business. Another feature that we use a lot of IDRS is printing checks, but you may not never print checks for your business. Same with contractors, jobs, projects. And one thing I really wanted to add here is, especially if you're a small business, how much support do you need? That's also one of the things that when you're paying a subscription model, especially for the online programs, there's support given. The different levels of support is available, right? Oftentimes it's not going to be able to help you with every aspect, but it'll definitely be able to help you with aspects of the software and help you if you have a problem, if you're trying to enter something and it's not working. So that is one of the values of having and paying a subscription, because you get access to that support. Like if you bought QuickBooks Desktop, you can get support, but it's an add-on feature and you have to pay for it. So these are just things that we want to think of as we're going and prepping and as we begin to think about software package. Okay, so like I've mentioned, a variety of software providers. QuickBooks, that's the largest. They've been around forever, but FreshBooks is very popular. And a lot of times these different programs are they have different features, but they're fairly similar, right? Some are definitely more robust than others are, but they all seem to be built towards a different audience. So FreshBooks is really built for kind of freelancers that are doing things where they're sending a few invoices every single month, have kind of the same contractors, or excuse me, same customers. And so they're really in the freelance business, not having a product-based business. You can do some product-based stuff through FreshBooks, but it's really for those freelancers who are doing a service-based business. Zoho Books, not as popular as the other ones here, but Zoho is very popular. They have lots of different apps. And so if you use like Zoho CRM, it would really help to use Zoho Books, because even in the free version of Zoho Books, they integrate. And I'll tell you, the reason why I put Zoho Books and Wave here is because they both have totally free editions where you're not going to be billed for anything if you use them. And so I wanted to make sure that, if like QuickBooks, because QuickBooks can get fairly expensive, if QuickBooks is a little bit of overkill right now for you, we can at least get you started on some type of accounting software right now, just to get you going, start getting those records, start getting, even if you're later and you're saying, well, I'm just starting my business, get in the practice of getting those financial records entered into an accounting software, so that when you really start to ramp up, you're already in practice, you know how to do it, you know how to enter invoices, maybe you have to learn a little bit if you move to a different software package, but you're going to already know the basic functions of, hey, when I go and I want to bill a customer that I want them to pay me for something, I have to send them an invoice, and I know how to create an invoice, and I know the things that should be on an invoice. And so you're not learning everything from scratch. That's why I think it's important to start now. And then Xero is just kind of a competitor to QuickBooks, and they've kind of positioned themselves as it may be almost as powerful as QuickBooks, but cheaper, right? And that's it's not super cheap, but they are cheaper than QuickBooks. So those are some of the providers that are in the market, and we're going to look at a lot of these different providers today, and take a look at the software. I did want to just briefly talk about QuickBooks and their desktop version. So if I was talking to most people, and I know QuickBooks can be complicated. My wife and I were just talking about it. She saw me putting this presentation together, and she's like, and she saw me looking at some of these other platforms. She goes, "Could I use one of those? Because QuickBooks is freaking complicated." And so I understand. So some people don't want to learn QuickBooks. what I love about QuickBooks is it can do everything. And if you have a computer and you don't have the need to be online, or have different people logging in to your software package, and most people, if we're solo entrepreneurs or we have a few people working for us or something like, or you're working out of one office, you're probably not having to really worry about a lot of people getting access to your accounting software. So you can have QuickBooks on your desktop, and it can do basically anything. You're never going to have to worry about expanding and not have. Now there may be certain features, like I said, in Premiere, but for the most part, you're going to be good to go. You're not going to have to step up to these different subscription models. And another beauty of QuickBooks was that you could install it and you can use that software package for multiple years. So I have a gentleman that ran a tire supply business, and he sold his business to another gentleman, but he still does some side work. He is still using QuickBooks 2015, and it does everything that he needs it to do. He's able to enter bills and invoices and all that kind of stuff. And he bought it back in 2015. He bought the Premier version, which is the step up from this desktop. I think he probably paid in the neighborhood of $300 to $350, and he's been able to use it continuously. Never had to worry about it. Right, that one investment of $315, and that's now essentially 6 years later. He's still using it. So that's was the beauty of QuickBooks Desktop. And then so they had the Pro version, and you could see the Pro version. This was Amazon when I did this presentation last year. It was $174.99. Did this early in the year, back in February. This is today. The same software, but the next year, and now it's actually $399, right? More than double. And that's because for many years, QuickBooks has tried to move everybody to their online product. And their online product is on a subscription model, so you're paying every month, right? And so the smart people that don't need those special online features, they could install QuickBooks Desktop and pay once, and they would be good forever. Well, QuickBooks, I suppose, I don't know, I guess you could say they're getting smart. They're hurting my heart because they're doing this. So this is still a value. I hate to say this because $400 is pretty expensive. This is still a value because you'll be able to use this at the minimum 3 years, and everything will work. After 3 years, some of the items do sunset. So like with bank feeds. So even the desktop version allows you to connect a bank account, and then the bank account you can sync up with the bank account, and the bank account will send down the transactions that you have in your account, so that you don't have to re-enter all of those transactions. The online, it's seamless because everything's online, but there are ways to get to do it on your desktop version. So after 3 years, that will stop working. However, I have never used that feature. I have hand entered all my transactions at IDRS, at the gentleman's place that I worked previously for my wife's business. I do the accounting for her. And I've always hand entered the transactions. If you're not doing thousands of transactions, doing those, I could probably do 100 transactions in an hour. There may be some that trip me up a little bit, take me a little bit longer, but for the most part, it's fairly quick. And so for me, I can use a software package, and you'll actually see I'm using 2019 and have continued to use that. But so even though this has gone up and more than doubled in price, this is still a value. However, if you still want the desktop, but you want a lower introductory price, this is the reason why they've really jacked up that price. So that price, what we were just looking at here, you'll just see that's the Desktop Pro. That was the same as this, except this is 2020, this is 2021, but this is 2021. But instead of it being Desktop Pro, this is subscription. And you can see this is quite a bit less. So this is exactly the same as the previous slide, this one, exactly the same. So you can do everything that the Pro can do, but the one thing it happens is this is a 1-year subscription. And after 1 year, it'll stop working on you, right? And so that means you're going to have to buy this. Now, if you think about it, you can actually pay for this, and you could, for the same price as you would pay $400, you can actually buy more than, about 2 3/4 years of this. So you can, before you pay for the one, if you're for the new one at $399. So you may, if you're going to keep that for more than 3 years, you may want to go for the one that's $399. Or if you say, well, you know what, if $149 isn't too bad, I'll choose this. I did check on Costco. If you guys have a Costco, and I would assume that Sam's Club may be the same. These big box retailers often have some deals if you guys are a member of one of those. But Costco will add 3 months subscription. So you actually get 15 months instead of 12 months I believe at the same price at $149.99. So that's, and I'm sad to say they've gone to subscription, but you can think about this. 150 is essentially $12 a month, right? A little bit more than $12 a month. That's going to be cheaper than any of these other software programs that are online. I'm going to show you only the very basic programs that can't do a fraction of what this software can do is going to be under $12. So that's the trade-off. If you don't need those online options, I still recommend QuickBooks Desktop, and and I'm going to show you some of the transactions in Desktop today. But just want to let you know that that's it's. I wish I wish they didn't do it, but they did it. So I don't know. I guess it was just a matter of time. Just real quick. So I did mention there was two different packages, and actually it shows 4 here. Just the difference between the first and the second column and the third and the fourth column is one is payroll, and they're adding payroll, so it adds a little bit more money to it. And I'd say actually a lot more money. It's a lot more expensive to have the payroll option. And you can see it's a 1-year prepaid payroll enhanced subscription to allow you to do, and it's only for one employee, and then you can add more. But what it does is it allows you to do W-2s and file taxes. So there are ways you can run employees through, like I said, but having the payroll enhanced feature does make having employees and running them through QuickBooks a little bit easier. I will say there are some. I was going to say, I'll say, I know you guys can't see this because I know this is a small graphic. I got this graphic off of Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and search QuickBooks Desktop Pro, you'll see this graphic. I believe it's the second image, so that you can see this a little bit better. And we could also send you a link to that as well, just to see. But you can see Desktop Pro, for the most part, has almost all the same features as Premier. Desktop Pro is this first one. Desktop Premier is this one. And Desktop Premier, I believe, is $299. It may be $249. But you get a few more things. Like I said, this down here says set product service prices by customer type. That's what I was talking about that I had to do for one business. So that's one of the features. Then you also had, it doesn't show it here, but there was those manufacturing builds. There's some certain different costing for products and inventory. You can still do inventory, but there's just some certain additional things that you can do. With this, there's also more reports in QuickBooks Premier than in QuickBooks Pro, but almost everybody will be able to do Pro. And I would even recommend people starting with Pro, because you can upgrade to Premier if you find that there are some different features that you're not having. Okay, so that's a comparison. And then before we take our break, what I want to do is I just want to finish off here with QuickBooks and just quickly take a look at online. Main thing I want to draw you to is the price differences. Now, right now it says $12.50, $20, $35, and $75, but those are discounts only for 3 months. When the 3 months is over, this plus version actually goes up to $70 a month. And this plus version is about the same. I would say that the same, and actually I should be using my laser pointer here so you guys can see. So this plus version is about the same power as the Desktop Pro. So you could have it on your computer, and as long as you don't need certain online functions, you're paying $150, for that year. Or if you're, if you need those online functions, right, you're paying, I get about $700, right? So there's a big difference. Some of the things that why somebody might go with the online, and I'm going to show you what the online looks like. It's a really cool program. It's got a lot of functionality. They've really improved it from when they first came out with it. Like here, they have 5 users. So in that previous, if you wanted to have more than one user utilize in your QuickBooks file, you have to buy a different another program, right? And then you have to set up on a network and network those 2 computers. And so now you've spent 150. Now you've bought an additional computer. Maybe you networked one. You can see it can be real cumbersome to be able to have multiple people tied into a desktop version. And I've never had to have that happen. So that's why desktop has really worked well for me. But if you have to have a lot of people that need to have access to the QuickBooks file, you have more than one person, or you're sharing this quite often. Maybe you have a remote bookkeeper that's doing work for you. It may be better to go with the online version just for that, because if you have a remote bookkeeper, you can give them their own login. There's certain things that you can hide from them. Or if you have certain employees or certain permissions, you can change the permission for each user. And there's that. So you can see there are certain benefits to getting the online package. It's just, do you need them or not? And then some of these are some of the different, each different package steps up a bit. But here, like I said, you can do inventory. You can do inventory with Desktop Pro, and then here's advanced. And there's just some certain additional features that you get. I know you guys can't read this, but this is on a QuickBooks website. I think Lynn's in just a little bit, she's going to post this in the chat box, and you can go and get this, and we'll make sure you guys have links to all of these things so you can go and read this. I didn't want you to sit here and have to compare each one of these, because I think when you're choosing your software package, I think you may want to spend some real time and really thinking about the different features that you need. I'm just kind of giving you the broad overview of these different systems. Okay. And so just real quickly, the offline versus online advantages. Cost, we talked about that, the desktop tends to be cheaper. It's, more robust if you have more than one company. So that's one of the things. From my QuickBooks file, I can actually operate my wife's business, IDRS's business. I do some work for the other gentleman, and I don't have to buy multiple company files. I can do all of that from one QuickBooks. As long as they don't need to do it on their computer and I can do it all from my computer, I can do I only need to have one QuickBook. I only need to buy QuickBooks one time. However, if you're doing online, every company that you want to use, you have to get a different subscription. So that's another one of the values of having that offline. If the internet goes out, I live in a rural area. A lot of our clients live on reservations, live in rural areas. If they have shaky internet, they may not have access to their QuickBooks file, right? And that's really troubling, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that you can do you don't need the internet for. But if your whole accounting package is online, that's going to be a real trouble. I know that QuickBooks Online, they saw that as an issue. And so there is a desktop client that interfaces back and forth. So they've tried to solve that as well. But obviously, if you're shaky internet, I would almost always recommend going with the desktop version. It also may work faster, depending if you have slow internet when you're doing certain transactions and everything, because some of these, it takes a little bit of power to crunch these numbers, and doing it on your computer where you don't have to worry about a network, it may be a little bit better. Online, right? It's easier to access. You can do it in a number of different areas. Don't have to worry about downloading the program. Never have to worry about updating it. Never have to worry about backing it up. That's one of the things that we've created some videos that you can go and see me walking through some of the different menu items for each of these different programs. And when I'm talking about QuickBooks, one of the QuickBooks Desktop, one of the first things I talk about is backing it up. And you have to go get yourself a cloud provider, which many of us already have, right? Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive or Dropbox. But you do have to go get one of those and drop and back up your company file and put it in there, so it will upload to the internet. So if something does happen to your computer, you are protected. But if you're online, right, it's on their servers, so you don't ever have to worry about something. If for some reason your computer blew up, you can just go buy a new computer, log back into QuickBooks or Xero or any of these other online programs, and you're back up. Multiple users, easier to share, right? That's another feature of online. Also integrations, and we'll look a little bit at some of the integrations when we get into the software. And you may not need require as powerful a computer because you're doing some of the stuff online. But one of the things you are going to want to have is a good internet connection. Okay, so with that, I think this is a good place to start. A good place to stop before we go in to these different programs. These other programs besides QuickBooks. So let's take a 4-minute break because it's 6:06 right now. I'll come back at 6:10. I'm going to go refresh my coffee and we will continue on. Lynn, I don't know if you're there, but if you could come off mute for a second.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
Can you go into our YouTube account and share the links with everybody for the different videos? I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I could put them in a box, but who knows, or a Google Drive, but who knows when we're going to get around to that. So maybe if we could just put those in and they can see the videos in case they want to watch them after the presentation.
Sure.
Okay. Raven, it's my pleasure. Okay, all right, so it's 6:10. I hope everybody's back. Um, I know Raven just sent a message. If um, Elizabeth and Hester, are you um, guys back? I think we just lost somebody, so hopefully they'll come back. But if you could even thumbs up in the text box, just to, oh, okay. Hester raised her hand and put it down. So I think she's just saying hello, that she's around. And Elizabeth, I hope you're around too. But I'm gonna get rolling here so we don't run out of time. Okay, Elizabeth is back as well. Perfect. So I wanted to briefly talk about some of the different software packages that are out there. And I'm not going to go into all the different features. I'm not going to go into a lot of different features about the different programs. The reason is because there's so many. You may not know, especially if you're just starting, what software tools that you need. What I think is more important is to kind of talk about the letting you know about some of the big ones. And then, and kind of directing you to where you might do some research and why you might choose some of the ones that I've mentioned. And why I wouldn't choose some of the ones I mentioned. So I'm really kind of giving a broad overview, is going to say, this is the one if you do this, because like I said, it's really going to be depending on what your business is doing and what you need. And it may be even personally your level of skill or what you want to learn. So, and so I apologize if you can't read any of these, because I do know the text is small. And so I really wanted to use this graphic more as a way to just introduce the companies. But I'm going to tell you what these are, and we've already sent out links so that you can go to these websites, and I'll tell you exactly where to find it. So the first one is QuickBooks. This is their lowest end product, and this is only their introductory rate. Their monthly rate is $15. You can see it's crossed out. The second one is FreshBooks. They also have a short time 50% off, and that they're also $15. And then the final one is Xero. But with all of these programs, they're very minimal. They're really built for doing very minimal things. Some have more features than others. So if you're looking for something, the cheapest thing, I'm actually going to have some more stuff for you on the cheapest thing. But as far as with these companies, these are their lowest programs. So like with Xero, which is this the third one here. You may not be able to see it, but the second item says enter 5 bills, right? So if you're getting 5 bills in a month, that may be totally fine for you. But most of us, we may have a couple credit card bills. If we have, let's say we have a small store or a small art gallery. Okay, so we're going to probably get an insurance bill. We're probably going to get a utility bill. We may, we may have our credit card bills. There, just and then there's just all the other things that come in as well. And if you can only start, do 5, and then once you get to 5, you have to move up, and the next package up is $30. It's really not a program that anybody could even use, right? It's only for the smallest type of entrepreneur. So that's what I'd say. So a lot of these are just really to kind of give you a taste of what their program is. And for some people, it may work. Like under FreshBooks, their limit is you can only have 5 clients, right? So if let's say you only have 1 client, and you're a solo entrepreneur, and you just have 1 client that you do all your work for, and you just work as the 1099 contractor, and you just want an easy way to create invoices, FreshBooks may work for you. But once you get 6 customers, you have to upgrade to a much more expensive package. So that's one of the things. If you don't ever want to really think about that, you intend to grow, or you're going to have, even a moderate level of expenses, these lowest end packages don't work. And what I would actually recommend for you is, if you were going to do some of these lower end packages, is to actually do some free packages that we have here. So I've added two different packages. So at first it was QuickBooks, FreshBooks, and Zero, but now we've added Zoho Books and we've added Wave. Okay, so this is Zoho Books. And so for Zoho Books, they have a package that is totally free to use. What their restriction is you have to make less than $50,000 per year. And I haven't figured out how they verify that. So I'm still looking to say is because, they do have your financial data, right? So if you show more than $50,000 in sales, do they try to charge you? I haven't figured that out yet. When I do, I'll let everybody know. But for most small entrepreneurs, this is a very powerful package, and it's got a lot of a lot of stuff in there that is going to get you pretty far. It's definitely not as powerful as QuickBooks is, but it does enough on this free version versus Wave here. So Wave is also free, but oh, and I should say, so the difference between Wave and FreshBooks is FreshBooks has additional levels that you can pay for. So it's free for if you're under 50,000, but as you step up, as you step up, I think the next level up is $15 a month. You have access to additional invoicing and things like that. With Wave doesn't have additional levels. They have their one package. And so what happens is it's kind of a stripped down accounting package because there's nothing else to charge you for. They do have a payroll add-on, but one of the nice things about Wave is because it's free, you can get on there and try it out and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, if you haven't spent a lot of time entering stuff, but you just kind of messed around in there, it's fine to say, okay, Wave doesn't work for me. Let me go try Zoho Books. So that's the real nice thing about these two items is they're totally free of charge, and you get a chance to get in there and really get your feet wet to see, am I going to be consistent with my accounting? Am I going to put this information in? Is it something that, that I, does it feel like I like this program? Is it too technologically advanced for me? It just gives you the opportunity to try those out. And then if you like Soho Books and you really like it and you start growing or you make a lot of money and you need a bigger package, they have those software packages and they tend to be fairly reasonable. And actually, I believe they have an offer that's called Zoho One, and Zoho One for, I want to say something like $45 a month. It'll give you every single piece of software that they produce, as long as you buy it for every employee in your organization. Well, if you're the only employee, right? So you're going to pay $45 and you get access to all the stuff that you would probably never even use. So you can see that. So whereas with QuickBooks, it was real quick, over $70 a month. So in any event, that's Zoho. But if you can go off with the desktop package, you can look at all of these, and the desktop monthly wise is, except for Zero, which is extremely limited, you're going to be cheaper than any one of these except these free packages, right? That's why I always talk about QuickBooks Desktop, because I think as an entry level, even though there's a little bit of cost, it's something that you can really utilize and really grow with you. Okay. So before I go to where you get help, this is actually going to be the fourth section. What I wanted to do now is I wanted to get into the different programs. First, before I get into the different programs, just want to real quickly talk about, so we've sent you these different websites. So I'm going to work backwards. So this is Wave. So you can get in and take a look at the pricing. You can see that they have, their accounting function. Where they make their money is really charging you for processing fees. So what they really want you to do is send a lot of invoices to people and have those people pay with credit cards. And then that's how they're making money, right? And so that's really, that's their financial model. They do have a payroll option, and the places where they can actually send in the documents, I believe it's 14 states, they charge you $35 a month plus employees. They will do they will do a little cheaper payroll, but here you're going to have to do some of the work as well. And those are in states where I don't know if it's a licensing thing or just for whatever reason, they're not servicing those states, but you can still run payroll. It's fairly inexpensive. It's not a super, it's cheaper than what I pay for payroll. But really, those are the two add-ons. Everything else is free. And when you come down here and Wave, you'll see all the different things that are available in the software package. And all these different things up here are totally free. Same thing with Zoho Books. You can see the pricing with Zoho, and all this stuff is free. And then you can see what you would pay. And I said it was $10. And it's not $10. I said it was $15. Excuse me. It's actually $10 is the next step up. And then you go to 20 and then to 30. And then there is even bigger programs. And like I said, integration with their CRM, all kinds of different stuff. So you can really grow within the Zoho family. It can become a really strong piece of software. I would say the one drawback with that, then you have to know how to operate all that. And most people I'm not that technologically savvy to know all that. And, even though you can purchase all of that software, using it's a different story. So, but just wanted to let you know, if you are growing Zoho, you can definitely grow, and it's a fairly inexpensive thing to grow with you, right? Definitely cheaper than QuickBooks Online and Xero, because here's Xero's plans as well. And you can see their price. They started with the 11, but really pretty soon you're going to probably be in this $32 price. And even at $32, you could do basically everything with QuickBooks Desktop. If you can use it on desktop, you're going to be able to do this at half the price, right? And probably do more than what this is able to do. You'll do some of these things that are over here, in the higher price program already in your QuickBooks Desktop. Final two things I just wanted to show you. Here's QuickBooks. There's all the different pricing and details. We'll go down. I thought it was right here. Oh, plans and pricing. There's all this plans and pricing for the online product. And then for desktop, we sent you that link as well. That's going to be the desktop, and you can compare. Now it's a subscription, and you can see if you buy it from Amazon, it's $199. Excuse me, if you buy it from Intuit from QuickBooks, it's $199. If you go to Amazon, it's $149. So go to Amazon, go to Costco. If you have a Costco membership, you get another 3 months for free. So there's a question from Hester. She asks, have you heard of trade-off with free software and the company selling data on user? Well, that's the typical way that most free software packages work. Like Facebook, right? So you have Facebook, and I don't necessarily selling your data, but Facebook is using your data, right? And that's how they get you more involved with Facebook. Other software, right? They give you their programs for free, a lot of apps on your phone, and then they sell that data to other people, and that's how they make money. So that's actually what happens with a lot of free software. And I think that's a really good question with both Wave and Zoho Books. But I would think that with the financial model, they're not going to disclose your financial information. That would be a huge breach of trust. That they would be essentially out of business. And Zoho, Zoho, they have a tremendous amount of data. There's so many programs that are being run through Zoho. Like I said, they have customer service or customer relationship management. So those are all of your contacts, and they're running these programs for millions of different companies. So Zoho, Zoho, I don't think would jeopardize their reputation on selling data, especially financial data. But it is a risk, and that would be very important to get into here to be able to reading some of the fine prints. Do we ever sell your data? So here on Wave Data, they have a thing. Is my data safe? It's completely safe. Our servers are protected physically and electronically. Any connection between you and Wave is protected by a 256-bit secure socket layer. That's what SSL means, encryption. Wave is a PCI DSS level 1 service provider. So it has all of this security there. Now that doesn't talk about selling, But what it does talk about is, the security, so nobody's breaking in and getting your information. And saying, is it free? And then it says, what's the catch? How does it make money? It says Wave makes money from financial services that make running your business faster. We offer payroll services in Canada and the US. We also allow businesses to accept payments online so you get invoices paid faster. And then they charge money for that. I will also say that Wave has a much more minimal accounting program. And so because of that, they're probably not spending they probably built their accounting software and are not doing a ton of work in trying to do tons of integrations and really make it robust, right? So they have kind of a base model, and that probably keeps the cost down. Whereas QuickBooks, they're selling you subscription, but they're always trying to improve and always get better and always improve integrations, because that's what they really want to do, is sell you that subscription. But I do definitely think it's a concern, and it's a good thing that you asked. Okay, so that's looking at the different websites, and you guys have that. And really, you're finding a lot of this information when you go to pricing for each of the different software packages. So you could really delve in there. I know with Zoho, I don't know if I can put my hand on it right here. I don't think I can, but I'll actually show you because I printed it out. It's a big list. And you can see that, tons of lines on the back, tons of lines. That is one thing that I downloaded from Zoho yesterday, and that is all their features depending on which package you get, right? So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of data that you can get in there and get that information, right? Some you may not understand, right? There may be stuff, because there's stuff in there that I don't understand, but at least you got the information there that you can start making those comparisons between the different packages, okay? So that is the different programs. So let me get up here. So first, I want to briefly introduce you to QuickBooks Desktop. So this is QuickBooks Desktop. There's a lot of data that's already in here because they have a sample file. And so this sample file is basically like a company already operating. They put all kinds of transactions in there for us to see. So if we wanted to go run a report, you can go right up here and run that report. And let's say I'm going to do my profit and loss statement, and there it is. Now, one of the things I do want to apologize, because this is also going to be small, and it's hard to make the image bigger on my screen. And I don't know that I can zoom in on any one thing, but I can't increase the whole report. So I apologize about this, that you won't actually be able to see these numbers. But I hope you can get the general gist of what we're doing here. And so this is the QuickBooks edition, Premier Edition, and this is a sample file, and has a lot of information, like I said, in there, and so we can kind of be able to practice, and it makes life easier, as you're testing it out. One of the things that we've also done is we have let's see if we have it here, and of course now it went away. Hold on. Let me go back. Hold on 1 second. Now it's asking me to log in. Let me get this real quick. So QuickBooks, and we've included this in the chat box. QuickBooks Online has a test drive, and much like their desktop version, they include a sample file. So in that link that has test drive in it, you'll actually be able to open QuickBooks Online and be able to see all the different things that QuickBooks Online can do, right? And like I said, Lynn has just sent you the videos that I recorded going over each of these 4 different programs. But one of the cool things that having this live version of QuickBooks will do is you can see the way a banking feed would work. So here in banking, they actually are connected to a fictitious bank. This is Example Bank USA. And you can see what different what the different transactions would be, how they look. And all these transactions are for review. You can see there's 25 transactions for review for this checking account. And what they want me to do is they want me to go in and take a look at this and say, okay, Books by Bessie has purchased something, or they have sent you money. Where should this go? And right now it's uncategorized income. So I can go in here and say, oh yeah, Books by Bessie, she bought something from me. She bought pest control services. And I can click that and hit add, and then that disappears. And now you can see I only have 24 things. And so that's one of the cool things about this QuickBooks test drive. It allows you to come in and see, here's a real life company, and here's all these different things, and you get to really test it, as opposed to just signing up for a trial package where you have to go input all your own data. Well, that may take a long time to put your own data before you start getting charged and start, you won't get able to have the real feel of that. So the four different packages that we have up right now is we have QuickBooks, we have QuickBooks Online, and then we also have Zoho Books, and then we also have Wave Accounting. And I was, so what in those videos is I've gone over each of the different programs, and I've gone through a walkthrough. Like I've gone through and looked at all of these different ribbons and talked about what the different functions are. I started out with QuickBooks Desktop and talked about, how powerful it is, how we're using it, talked about that backup function. And then as I'm going through the different programs, I'm talking about, things that I see that are missing, things I see that are there that, this is good enough. So that's really what those videos are for. So I apologize. I don't want to just duplicate within those videos. There's so much information that you can get involved with, in going to these different programs. And also another thing that I didn't want to do is I didn't want to confuse you by just going in and just entering transaction after transaction, because to really learn these programs, you have to do it yourself. Because one of the things is we've taught at IDRS QuickBooks, and what we would actually do is we had a small computer lab, and we would actually take that and do the training on res. We'd have like 10 computers, and we'd open them up, drive out to the res, open them up, and have everybody start practicing QuickBooks, because that's really where you learn it, right? We would give them sample transactions to do, and then they would start entering those transactions. So I didn't want to do a lot of transactions because you won't kind of grasp it. But what I did want to do is I wanted to show you some of the things that if you had to do something, how you might be able to do it. So one of the first things that I wanted to demonstrate is doing an invoice, because invoicing is something that a lot of people do. So the first thing is, why would you do an invoice? So you do an invoice when you want to bill somebody, and you're going to give them this piece of paper, this invoice, and then they are typically going to pay you later, right? Now, some people generate an invoice and then somebody pays them immediately. But a lot of times what happens is an invoice may be sent by the mail, and then, how I would really think of this is that invoice is very similar to like a utility bill, right? The utility, you generate so much, or you don't generate, you use so much electricity, then a bill is generated, and then they send that to you. That's really an invoice, right? Somebody is going to buy something from you, or they purchase something, you've already given them the product, and then you have to give them an invoice, and typically they're going to pay later, like you would pay your utility, right, by the date it's due. So I wanted to show you how easy it is in each of these programs to create invoices and what functionality is there. So in QuickBooks Desktop, to create it, a lot of these buttons are duplicated, so you can go a number of different places. Like I have it up here on the ribbon to create an invoice, but also here in customers, if you wanted to create invoices, it's right there as well, because you're billing your customers, right? So they try to make this intuitive. You can also hit Control-I. If you saw that in the thing, you can also hit Control-I, and the invoice tab comes up. And then you're going to just start, entering a customer. Now, one of the things here with this sample file, and you'll also see this on QuickBooks Online, is they have a lot of customers already built in. So this is one thing that we won't have in the Zoho Books or Wave that doesn't have your sample file. But I do have some things in there that I can use that I've already put in there just to demonstrate what we're doing. So here, I'm just going to use the first one, Christy Abercrombie. There's certain things that are coming up, like here it's saying that, she has estimates that we've created for her, but we're just going to cancel that out. I'm just going to put an item. So let's say that we did some removal work for her, and we removed a tree stump. So I just went and found removal, and then I put remove tree stump, right? And let's say the rate is $35 an hour, and we spent 4 hours doing that, right? So that may be time and travel, and then the work we've done, and then we have that, and then we may put a note down here, talk about, the work that we did. We may not. This may be the whole, removal, or I should put tree stump removal, excuse me, tree stump removal. And, here's Christy Abercrombie. We may just send this and it's on its way. We hit save and new. And then if we want to get this out in the newer versions, because sometimes they do disable this function, is that you can email this invoice directly from your QuickBooks file. However, even if they've disabled that function, you can always print the invoice and scan it back in. You can also save it as a PDF, and then of course just attach that as an email, right? You can print it out and hand it to the customer, or you could email it to the customer. Okay, so that's creating an invoice in QuickBooks Desktop. Okay, we could do the same thing in QuickBooks Online, right? So there's a number of ways to create it here. So creating an invoice, if we're looking at the dashboard, a lot of these online programs have dashboards. And so on the dashboard, they're giving you a snapshot of some of the different accounts. And so you can see here, I can add an invoice down here. They'll also have one of these kind of quick, quick function buttons. When you click this, it has all these different functions that you'll be able to use. And you can see that I can create an invoice from here. I'll also be able to create an invoice. So sales, right? Because I'm dealing with customers who I'm going to be able to sell for. And then if I'm on the invoices tab, I can also create an invoice here as well. And all of those three different things are doing the exact same thing. They're going to create an invoice. So if I click create an invoice, this is the way, oh, hold on a second. I apologize. You may see some flashing every once in a while. I think my memory card is going bad. So I haven't done this on this file before. So it's asking me it's doing this because one of the things that QuickBooks does, they're very good at this, is selling you things, right? So they want to, if you've got employees, they want you to buy the payroll package. If you accept credit cards, they want you to process your credit card fees through QuickBooks, right? So even though you may be already paying them money, they want to make more money, right? If you're doing taxes, because they're one of the, by the way, if you don't know, they own TurboTax. So Intuit is the largest tax software provider in the country, as well as the largest accounting software provider, right? So they want you to start doing their tax either using TurboTax or using some of their paid professionals. So that's one of the things, right? So there's going to be a lot of these sales pitches that you'll see. But let's say we're creating an invoice here. Now, we're not going to have Christy Abercrombie here, but I'm just going to use the first ones here, Amy's Bird Sanctuary, and all of her information comes up. Now, if this is the first time you're using any of these accounting software, you're going to have to put that information in. But because we are using a sample file, it's there. And let's say I sold her a product. Let's see what we have there. Let's see if they have something similar. I'm going to say just hours. So here's landscaping hours. This is kind of a generic thing, but now I get to put the exact same thing. So I'm going to put tree stump removal, and that was 4 hours. And the rate we charge is $35. And you can see we've created an invoice, and a number of different ways that you can do this as well. You can save and send through the QuickBooks Online. They'll have the email in there that allows you to send. You can also save this and download this as a PDF. You can also print this as well and do some of those same functions as well. You just have to set those up. But a lot of those things are there as well. You don't have to do everything online. You can actually see it's down here, print online. You can print later, printer preview, and should have it come up, and here it is as a PDF, right? And I can download that from the PDF, or I can print that from there, okay? So that's in there. Let's say Zoho Books. Now Zoho Books, I probably don't have any customers in here, but let's say I wanna bill somebody, right? So you can see here, there's invoices as well. I can click invoices, create a new invoice, And they're going to be asking me some of these initial first time questions. I'm just going to, X out of this just to get in here. So I don't have any customers, but that last one was Amy's Bird Sanctuary. So I can just type this in here, and you can see how quickly we can create a customer. So I created this customer, and this, you don't have to do this right now. You can go back and edit this later, but all this information is there that you can keep on Amy's Bird Sanctuary. So you can put in the contact, the phone number, other details about them. A pretty robust informational setup for a free program. And I really want to compare and contrast this, which is free, versus what we're going to see in Wave, which Wave's going to give you enough, but it's definitely not going to be as much. So I'm going to hit save. So here's Amy's Bird Sanctuary. And what we're going to do is we're going to, so we want to do an item now. Well, we don't have any items in here. I haven't created any as of yet, but I'm just going to come here and put landscaping hours. I believe that's what the last one was called. I'm going to change that to a service. Now I may have a selling price at $35 an hour. I can kind of set this up already. Don't have a cost price, right? That would typically be in retail. And then I'm going to put, maybe I even take that off, and I'm going to hit save. Okay. So now I have landscaping hours. I have that as $35, and I put that as 4. Now, one of the things that we would want to do before we send this out, we would want to make sure Amy's Bird Sanctuary information is in there, right? We want to make sure their address is in there, their phone number. We have kind of those basic details in the system. But creating an invoice, you can see already creating an invoice. If we need to change certain things, like when it's due, what the due date is, we can do that. But it's all right here and totally free of charge. And they even allow you to do some payment options as well, where you can do payment online. They don't offer all those features. You can do many more if you move up to a paid plan, but even a free plan, I believe, like through Stripe as a major provider, they allow you to work through Stripe. And then you can save and send here through email, or just like we just did in QuickBooks, we can also print it out. Here's the PDF copy of it. We can download, or we can print it and physically hand to the person. Okay, so in Wave, creating an invoice, same thing. So for Wave, I'm going to go over here to sales. Here's invoices. And remember, like I said, in each of these programs, you're going to have these basic things. I got to bill people, right? I got to get money into my system. I have to buy things. So there's going to be some sort of expense function. I need to do stuff with my bank. So you're going to see banking in every single one. And then I need to do reporting. And then that reporting function will be there as well. So here's invoices up here in the button, and they have some of these things as well. I didn't show it to you like I did in some of the other programs, but you can go up to the dashboard. Here's create new as well. That's kind of their kind of big function button that you can do right from the dashboard screen. But I actually clicked into sales and invoices, and you can see here's create an invoice as well there. So I'm going to add a customer. So I have some customers just already set up here. So I'm just going to use Bob. This is invoice number 3. So I'm going to use an item. Now I was just kind of messing around here and kind of put, I was pretending I was a food purveyor at a fair. But if I want to create a new item, all I got to do is put, come down here, create that new item. And I'm going to put the item name as landscaping hours. And I can have a description if I want. We did 4 hours of that at $35. And then they'll ask you if it's a tax code, of course, in a service out here in California, where services aren't taxed. But we've created the invoice. So I can save and send like I can do that on a lot of the other programs. All right, I'm going to cancel that out. Or what I could also do is go back to invoices. Now I'm going to click that invoice I just sent. I can also, of course, I'm going to edit the invoice here. I can also, well, see, I thought you could print this. I thought I had just seen that. We go to preview. Well, you know what? So now I am not seeing. No, this is to record a payment. So this is one of the things. So I don't know if you could print this off I thought that you could, but I may be wrong on that. If you can't print it off, that may be one of the limitations that you have here, right? And they're giving it to you free of charge. So one of the things though is they're expecting you to do it everything online, right? Because if you do print it off, the chances are that somebody pays you by credit card are much less likely, right? And they want you to pay by credit card because that's how they make money, right? Um, so I was looking here to see if there was another one, but I don't see it. So that's creating an invoice. So you can see there's 4 different programs, and we've created an invoice in each of those. And it's fairly standard, and you can do it pretty quickly. But really what I would recommend to everybody is to get in here and to really start practicing and to see, to see what is available. And I would encourage everybody to go through the different videos that I've created, and I'm going to try to create more and send those out as well. I just ran out of time. I wanted to do some additional transactions as well, but you'll see like creating accounts. And I've talked quite a bit about chart of accounts in the 4 introductory videos, and you'll see how we create accounts using the chart of accounts and where we put them in, and even how there's some workarounds like with Wave. Wave didn't have as much functionality as some of the other programs, but there was a workaround to get something that was close enough. And if you don't have a ton of transactions, oftentimes close enough is good enough. Other things. I'm gonna open it up for questions in just 1 minute if there are questions, and I think that Lynn actually has something that she wanted to ask me. But before I do that, I just want to mention about getting help, because I think that's also an important thing to talk about when we're not going to be bookkeepers or accountants, right? We're small business owners. We may be, we may not love numbers, right? We want them, we want to make sales, but we don't want to really get into the nitty gritty and learn how to do all this stuff, right? We want to know the basics so that we're able to operate our business. And so, what I want to mention is hiring help. That's actually what I did for a lot of small businesses. And you do not have to hire a full-time bookkeeper. The arrangement that I had, it started out that I would go in twice a week, but actually pretty quickly I would be going in 1 time a week, then once every couple of weeks, then it was 1 time every month, right? So, and then if you think about that, if you're paying a bookkeeper $35 or $25, $35 an hour, and they do 2 or 3 hours for you, it's not a huge investment each month, right? And then they can use their expertise to make sure all your books are in order, right? So it doesn't have to be a huge investment, especially like if you think about with QuickBooks, right? $70 is just to buy the program each month. You may even be able to get a bookkeeper cheaper than that to come in and take a look at that. You may also there are some small business development programs around the country. I think I have it on the next slide, actually, down there at the bottom, things like SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, the Small Business Development Center. Some programs like that also offer some accounting clinics. And so if you put QuickBooks on a laptop, you may be able to actually take your accounting software in to them, right? So you could drive to their office and they may even be able to help you out or do some services totally free of charge. Other things, so I put QuickBooks because QuickBooks is kind of the focus. I talked a lot about QuickBooks in this presentation. But for any of these programs, what technical support do they have? So QuickBooks is very robust. They're a very large company. So they have people there, right? And as you're paying for those subscription models, they have service professionals that are there to help you out. Obviously, if you're going to be getting one of the free programs, you're probably not going to be getting that service. And so that may be a deal breaker for you. Or you may say, it's good enough, I'll deal with it. But if you need technical support, obviously the paid options are going to get you a lot more support. Other things like with QuickBooks is, like I said, the largest used accounting software program in the world. So there's a huge community. I mean, just like if you search QuickBooks, you're just gonna get tons and tons of posts. So that's out there, and so so with a lot of problems, I have problems all the time on QuickBooks that I can't solve, or maybe I solved it 3 years ago and I forget how to do it. and I can just go on and Google that, right? And these QuickBooks communities come up and give you some hints on how to be able to do that. So that's a real nice function of QuickBooks. With the other software packages, they're much less popular. There'll probably be a lot of Zero, but like when we look at Wave or Zoho Books, that's going to be much more minimal. So that's also something to consider. They're free, but you're not going to have that robust support community out there. These are all going to be the same thing, where QuickBooks is going to be the most, and as you go down, you're going to get fewer and fewer programs. Now, they may be enough out there for you, so you just have to, maybe that's something you want to scout around for before you start and actually choose one. But with lynda.com, Lynda, if you're not familiar with lynda.com, Lynda is a training platform, and I believe it's owned by LinkedIn now. But one of the cool things about Lynda, or LinkedIn training, I forget what it, I don't know if it's officially LinkedIn training and no longer Lynda, is a lot of public libraries will have free access to it just by being a library card holder, right? So something where you would normally have to pay every month, you can go and get this training free of charge. So there's Lynda out there, there's Udemy. So Udemy has a lot of training courses, and they often have sales on almost all their courses, and they generally run about $10 a course, right? So you may pick up a course on Udemy very inexpensively as well. There are also some libraries that also have Udemy is free of charge, and we'll have that. And so I was actually on Udemy yesterday, just kind of gauging. Obviously, QuickBooks, tons of courses. With Wave, I believe there was I think 3 or 4 courses total, right? Compared to thousands on QuickBooks. So that's something. But if those 4 courses are enough to allow you to operate Wave, that may be fine. Also with YouTube. Now, we all know YouTube is totally free of charge. And so I would encourage you to go on there, because there are videos for Wave and Zoho Books on as well. Obviously, there's always more for QuickBooks, but there is some stuff out there on YouTube. Also, IDRS, that's what we do. We provide free technical assistance, and we'd be more than happy to help you. We're not experts on Zoho Books or Wave or even QuickBooks Online, right? I really utilize QuickBooks Desktop every single day. But if you had questions on those programs, we're savvy enough, or we'll find somebody that can help you out on that. Also, what else do we do? So we provide that one-on-one technical assistance, but I would also encourage you to check out our nativebiz.org or our Facebook page. And one of the things that we're also very interested in doing, if we can't solve the problem for you, we'll try to help and look for other programs that will. And SCORE and SBDC, there are some times where they may charge a little bit for training, but almost all of their services are totally free of charge, right? So they're government grant funded, very similar to how we are. And so they're often doing a lot of this work totally free of charge. So with that, I know we're about out of time. We still don't have time, and I'm always willing to go over, but I know it's getting late, especially back in New Mexico, if you guys are back there. But if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them right now. That's my email. Feel free, after you review the other materials, I'm totally, I know people say email. I'm serious. Email us if you have any questions. Email us. We'd be more than happy to continue the dialogue with you. And so while we're waiting for questions to come in, if there are any, Lynn, do you want to ask me that question on PayPal?
Yeah, so we just set up our organization's books in QuickBooks. But the part I'm having trouble with is we also created a PayPal account. So now I've got membership funds that are coming into the PayPal account. I've kept all that money in there. And I don't know how to reconcile everything, so we have our main bank account. We actually have our main bank account, 3 sub accounts, and then a PayPal account. And
Okay. Well,
I don't understand how that's going to work.
Yeah. Well, let me kind of give you a couple different things. So the first thing is doing bank reconciliations. That's important, right? And what you're doing there is you're comparing the bank statement to what you have in your QuickBooks account. And the way, if you're using desktop, which I believe Lynn is, you're going to find that here in the banking menu. And if you come down, you'll actually see reconcile. And as you guys can see, and maybe you can't see this, maybe a little bit smaller screen, but this is just having one of the bank accounts that I've created, should it be Bank of America Savings. I'm going to use the sample account, and here's checking, and I just put in a dollar amount today. And this is what your account will look like. It'll have hopefully a bunch of transactions in your QuickBooks file, and on the left-hand side is going to be checks and payments and deposits and credits. And what you're basically going to do is, and this is what I do every single month, I get out, I'll just pretend this is my bank statement. I sit here with my pen or pencil and go through my bank statement and say, okay, on let's say June 1st, I got something from Larson Flooring. Okay, that check is cleared. Then I go and I click off Larson Flooring, right? And I just go right down the list. I make sure that the dollar amounts match, and I go and hopefully by the time I've marked off everything on my statement, that I get down here at the bottom, I get a difference of 0. And that's unless I've made a mistake, that means that my account is reconciled. Okay, so that's the first thing on doing a reconciliation in QuickBooks. Right, it's a pretty easy step. There's just a little, really doing the reconciliation is not that big a problem. The real problem in reconciliations I mean, you just got to kind of know the theory of it, right? That you're comparing the bank statement to what's in the computer. So as long as you kind of get some of these theoretical pieces, doing the reconciliation isn't that difficult. The real problem with reconciliations is if there's something wrong, right? So if all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of checks that are in the bank account or in the bank statement that says have been cleared, and you have none of those checks in your account, that's when you got to go and do investigation, and that's where it gets to be a little bit harder. Or if there's some different dollar amounts and trying to correct some of those errors, that's where it gets to be a little bit harder, but you'll get that with practice. The other thing is the PayPal account, right? And I would say the first thing with the PayPal account, now you could transfer all the money. That's one thing. Lynn had mentioned this to me before, and I said, okay, well, you could transfer all the money over into the bank account just to represent it, to say, here's all the money. But I think a better solution, because I think as a nonprofit organization, and I know we had somebody online that was also a board member of a nonprofit, one of the things is you want to be open and compliant and show that, hey, we have this PayPal account and I want to show you what's in the PayPal account. So a better option would be to bring that PayPal account into your QuickBooks program. And the way that you would do that is essentially creating a new bank account. And you can do that a number of different ways. I often do it through the chart of accounts. And you'll actually see that I did this with accounts. As you go and look at the video, I think it's called Creating Accounts. I created accounts in each of the 4 different programs. But if I was going to create an account, there's an account button, and all I got to do is click and then hit new, right? And this window pops up, and I'm actually going to move this here to the center. And what this does is it says you're going to create a new account. And actually, let me go real quickly back to the chart of accounts here. And so here on the chart of accounts, I'm going to open. Sorry, I'm moving these up. I didn't want them so spread out. Over here is the different account items that you have. This is the type, and this is the total that is in each of those accounts. The way a chart of account is typically organized is they have, if you remember when we were talking about some of the different things you're going to want to generate from your accounting files, is you're going to want to generate your profit and loss statement, and you're going to want to generate your balance sheet, right? Well, a chart of account is just those two documents stacked on top of each other. So up here, you have all of your balance sheet accounts. So you have your bank, and you can see here are your assets. Then you have your liabilities, then you have your owner's equity, right? And those are the three different major categories that you have on your balance sheet. Then underneath that, you have your income, cost of goods sold, which is also an income account. And then you have all your expense categories. And then you have some miscellaneous stuff down here that's non-posting and real, it's really stuff if you have no other way to put them, you got to put it somewhere, you throw it down there in the thing, and it doesn't really affect the other totals. So that's the way the chart of account is created. So what we're going to do is we want to create a new bank account, and that new bank account is going to be PayPal, right? And so I would just come here to account and click new. And so PayPal, even though it says PayPal, you don't think, well, that's not a bank. It's just a financial institution. All a bank is a place where your money is held, right? And a credit card operates a little bit differently. So if it operates like a credit card, you can put it as a credit card. But if it's just a place where you can store money, it's going to operate as a bank, even though it's not called a bank. So you click a bank and you click continue, and then it's going to give you the option here to enter all the information for that. And so we may just call this our PayPal account. And if you had other accounts, like let's say you wanted to do sub accounts, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do here in QuickBooks. You can assign numbers. If you look here on the left-hand side, it may be hard to see, but each of these accounts have numbers. That's one of the things that a lot of accountants, they like to number their different accounts. It just makes it easier to organize. If that's something that you had, and you may assign an account number to it. You may want to put information about your banking account in here. I'll tell you what, one time my laptop got stolen and I had a QuickBooks file on there with sensitive information, and it was a real pain having to notify everybody, even though I don't think it was breached, it was password protected and everything because it was stolen. So I don't put any of that information. I don't have anything in my QuickBooks file ever. I don't even take my QuickBooks file and put it on laptops anymore. Everything stays on my main desktop computer in a secure file. So that's one thing. But sometimes you may need that type of information, or there may be multiple people accessing it and they need to have that. And that's just the easiest place to have it, and maybe the most secure place to have it. So you could put all of that information, and then you just hit save and close. And that is as simple as that. That pop-up there was to ask you, do you want to link the bank? Because there are abilities to link. And then what you would do, so that's the easy part, actually creating the PayPal account. The difficult part is now coming in and entering the transactions. And Lynn, do you have kind of an idea how many transactions that you have?
Well, it's not a lot. I mean, it's been open for a couple years, so I guess over a couple years, it's been quite a few, but it's not anything like, our bank account where there's stuff going in and out all the time. But you said you could link them. So I think for me, like, one reason why I want to quit having to manually enter stuff,
Right.
because right now we just use an Excel spreadsheet. Like, that's where we enter everything, and it gets very tedious to me. And then sometimes, I need to do things like run some kind of reports, and I'm having to do everything just manually through Excel. So, I guess one of my questions would be, like, with QuickBooks, if it's linked to PayPal, will it automatically bring those transactions over? Like, can I click a button and those transactions go over into QuickBooks without me having to manually enter them?
Well, let's take a look here. So here's QuickBooks and PayPal integration, and they talk about connecting to PayPal, but we have to see, because a lot of times when they are talking about the integration, it may be online, right? It may not be the desktop version. So that's not really telling me it's that desktop or so, because here's one of the things they've actually the thing is with desktop, sometimes it doesn't integrate fully, or there's some problems with it. And then you actually are using a third-party software provider for that. And what happens is when you start doing that, that's when the complication gets in. So if you don't have a full-time bookkeeper, right, and it's you that's having to do this, now you're not only having to understand, okay, how we can get those those data points in there, but now I got to go set up that third piece of software that communicates with PayPal and then gets that information in QuickBooks. That's one of the problems about using QuickBooks Desktop if you want a lot of automation, right? Whereas if
Well,
you
and
do,
we do have the online version,
oh,
so
you
we're
do have,
not using desktop.
oh,
Yeah, we're
okay.
using, yeah, we bought the online.
So if you're using online, then that's not an issue at all. Then you can create a have a PayPal account and you can link those. And that's what that and I'm almost certain that that's what this QuickBooks and PayPal integration is, right? And then you would be able to bring all of that data in. And like I said, when it comes in, it's going to come in like this. It may be uncategorized income. And then if there are donations, you're just going to have to go and maybe you'll have an income category where that's called donation, and you would just assign those to donation, right? And if something's a different type of income, you would assign it to a different type of income. And that would allow you, then those transactions would be in, and then that would make it easier to then to reconcile. I was also going to say is, if you didn't want to do and put all of that stuff in, you the organization said, hey, just start fresh from now, but in the future put them in. One of the things you can always do is just start from the last from the last period. So right now, let's say you're starting, you had already started last week, so the end of the last period would have been May 31st. You could say, okay, I'm starting the company file as June 1st, and it has an opening balance of X, Y, and Z, right? So let's say it has $1,000 in there, and that would be the opening balance. And nobody would know how that $1,000 is in there, right? They would then have to go and get all of those older statements if they wanted to know how that $1,000 is in. But if you started with the accurate dollar amount and then just made sure everything else from now in gets entered, that would at least accomplish the same thing. And then after a while, you would have all these transactions in there, and then people really wouldn't care because it would be accurate enough up to that moment.
Right. Okay.
So
good. Well, that was thank you for answering that. And I know that there's a lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with that use PayPal,
Right, exactly. A PayPal, and that's also another thing, is that a lot of the and I should show this. I did show this on the video. So if you are looking at the online the QuickBooks online function, I did highlight this. But down here on the bottom are the apps, and these are all these different apps that QuickBooks integrates with, right? So you have, and you guys may not know what all of these different software titles are, but like HubSpot's a huge marketing program. Here's Salesforce. Salesforce is a gigantic CRM, customer relationship management program. I'm sure a lot of you guys have used DocuSign, where you've had to sign for something, right? You can even kind of send documents out and have them come into your QuickBooks file. And then if we go through here, I'm going to see if I could find if they have it, because one of the things that we have been doing a ton of training on is Etsy. And I know that there's an integration within Etsy, and I don't know if I'm going to find it here, but I could have swore that Etsy has it from their side. Etsy and QuickBooks. Let me see, pull it up real quick. And so they have a sync with Etsy, and I believe that's an Etsy product. This is one of the things, is like, some of these things, they don't make it easy. It would be nice if you just click one button, and there are certain things that are like that, where it's just real simple. I think one of the things that's also of issue with QuickBooks, and this is with any financial program, because you're dealing with financial data, you're dealing with financial data within QuickBooks, you're dealing with financial data within Etsy, the security levels have to be much higher. And because you're trying to send out that information, the barrier that you have to do. So, because like today, as an example, I set up Zoom and integrated that with my Google Calendar. That was a couple clicks and it was up. but what happens if they hijack my calendar? I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? Whereas if they got into your Etsy account and they emptied all your money that was in Etsy, that would be a huge thing, not only for yourself, but also for Etsy, who would probably be on the hook and liable for that. So that's why I think that a lot of these linkages are a little bit harder to make, but I think that they're all doable. And I think with most entrepreneurs, they aren't using tons of programs. So if they're using Etsy all the time, they may just have to spend a day trying to get Etsy hooked up with QuickBooks. It may be extremely quick, but you may have a little bit of troubleshooting to get that one. But once you get that, then you're good to go for quite some time, right? You don't have to worry about all these different integrations, only the couple few that you use. Okay. So I think that's about it. I've kept you guys over. Like I said, if you guys have questions after you've watched those videos and you reviewed, please contact me. Be more than happy to talk about it with you. And we have my phone number as well, 916-482-5800. Let me pull my slide back up, and I could even go back over here. I'm going fast, quick. So if you guys need that, of course, I could have just put it in the box. There it is. So feel free to call, feel free to email, be more than happy to assist. Just wanted to kind of give you an overview and show you what's out there with regards to computer-based accounting. Those other videos are going to show you a lot more. And if any of you guys need us to even jump on Zoom or some other program and give some personal tutorials, be more than happy to do that as well. So anything you guys need to make sure that your guys' business is a success, I'm more than happy to do. Okay, so I guess with that, that's I've already kept you 11 minutes over, and we've already been here for over 2 hours. So I don't want to belabor the point. I could go on about this for all night long, but I know I want to give you the rest of the evening back to you and just tell you guys that I'm here and available for questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us. And, we really appreciate you guys attending. And, and I should say one other thing. We talked a little bit about computer-based accounting and getting into that today. In a week and a half on Monday, June 12th, Lynn is going to be running a 3-part series on building your website. And we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of these same issues, but looking from the website. What do you need for your website? What are some of the things that you should be considering? What are the materials that you need to gather in building your website? Choosing a platform. And then actually we're going to be using Squarespace to actually move through and create a website and then create graphics for that website as well. So that's coming up from IDRS and our partnership with IAIA. And then actually we'll be back in August. I believe is it August 4th, Lynn? In August 4th, we'll be doing.
Yes, I think so. I'm trying to open my calendar.
Yeah,
yes.
And we'll be doing a lot of these same things as well. Instead of looking at computer-based accounting software, then we'll be looking at e-commerce software, because we know that a lot of people are wanting to not only sell locally, but they're now wanting to move online, right? And of course, the internet has made that tremendously easy. Like I mentioned, and we've done these courses for IAI in the past and selling through Etsy. But what are other platforms out there? Looking at Facebook, how difficult is it to build a Shopify store? So these are some of the things. Oh, and Amazon, right? And Amazon is being an Amazon fulfilled by Amazon seller. Is that something that's worthwhile to do? So we're going to look at all of those things, and hopefully what we want to do is we want to equip you as an entrepreneur that you have the right information to move forward. We can't give you all the information in 1 2-hour stretch, but we want to make sure that we've given you something that will allow you to move forward and make some decisions. So we hope that on those other 2 trainings that we do the same. So thank you guys for coming, and we look forward to seeing you down the road on those other trainings.